Cole, did you watch the My Adventures with Superman?
I did, and I do have mixed feelings about it.
Got it. Well, we'll just go ahead and knock that out the way first, because I got some
Listen,
things to
dude.
say about this.
What the fuck? What do you mean you've got mixed feelings about it? What's the problem?
Do you say what the
I
problem
got a few
is?
issues, but mine's is very minor.
You're slowly becoming jaded fanboy, bro.
Well, the main thing. It's mainly one thing that I have like mixed feelings with, and that I do think the animation's a little choppy, and I think there's a lot of creative stuff they could have done with it that they were a bit lazy with. But other than that, I enjoyed it overall. I didn't think it was like amazing or anything, but I enjoyed it.
So, well, real quick, let me make this clear to everybody.
I'm only joking, by the way. Sean, of course you can ask me.
So, well, let me get this out the way, because this is probably this is really my only criticism in general from these past two episodes. But I'll just say, in general, my only issue is the design of Slade Wilson, and that's about it. That's literally it.
But one of the things I really want from this show, just looking at it, is for it to build out the universe, like, you know, just show different characters and stuff like that. Is that supposed to be Deadshot? It's Deathstroke.
Yeah, he got his GQ haircut.
Yeah, I saw people memeing this on Twitter today. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I don't dislike it. I just think my issue is his design. But I'm not too sure if this is Slade Wilson before the super soldier testing, because he doesn't lose his eye until that testing. But you know, either way, he's not bad as long as he puts on the his Deathstroke attire later. Fine by me. But just he doesn't look rough. He doesn't look intimidating enough for me. Yeah, he got that GQ haircut. You know, he looks kind of handsome.
I beg your pardon.
That's fine. I mean, the thing for me is, yeah, like, I don't mind them taking a little bit of risks with characters.
Oh shit! Wait.
Doing different things with characters. To me,
yeah, I'm just saying from a design standpoint, he doesn't look intimidating. But I don't have no issue with him as a character. He just doesn't look like a Slade Wilson. I'd be
sure, but I don't know what they're going for, what they're trying to do with the character, or why they've made those changes. I don't.
Well, it seems like they're trying to go a Teen Titans. You've seen the Teen Titans show?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Slade wasn't just a what's the word? A mercenary. He was like a legit, bad guy trying to, like, I guess, take over the world.
No, Robin. I won't stop. Not now, not ever.
He wasn't just a mercenary. I think they might be taking that approach. I'm not too sure, but it seems like it.
That wouldn't explain the look. I'm saying what is it about the story they're telling with him that will explain the look? But anyway,
well, yeah, that's why I think the other factor, he probably didn't go through the super soldier testing yet. This is probably like his origin story too, because we know Slade Wilson doesn't become Slade Wilson until after he goes through the testing by the government.
Okay. I love this fucking thing. Like, I saw the first episode. I haven't seen the second episode yet. But this is everything I've said. Like, or I mean, I'm not even going to go into that. But like, everything I've ever said about what you can do with the Superman character without losing the essence of the character is in this show. Like, it's the complete antithesis of this New 52 fucking bullshit that has haunted us, for so long. Yeah. And just going back to the basics of what made the character work for the masses, for the, because the only time it's ever worked is in that 70s movie in terms of
because And
in terms of live action or cartoon. I don't even like the Bruce Timm shit. For real, I really don't like that. I don't like this whole idea of Clark Kent just being this buttoned up, like like ultra serious, if you watch the Bruce Timm show, there were good aspects to it that I did like, but at the same time, they made him like very, very serious, and they took all the fun and playfulness out of Clark Kent. This one has brought the fun and playfulness back, but it's done it in a modern way. It doesn't have to be.
I can agree and see your point of that. But see, even now, because I do agree, and this is what I think you need to do with characters like this, characters in general, right? When you can, for example, this show right here, this is very different from the animated series from the 90s. For one, it's anime inspired. In that show, Jimmy and Lois was in the show, but this show is trying to play on this whole like dynamic of Clark, Jimmy, and Lois going out there to investigate these stories and get the truth. They was doing that in the animated series in the 90s, but not as much. They was there, but it was more Superman in the forefront. Sometimes he might be doing something with Lois. Yeah, we saw him reporting, but not really as much as this show is going to do. But the one thing that stays the same between these two shows, and I'd say Smallville, Superman and Lois, the Superman 70s, the Superman 78, is that Clark, his morals, what he stands by is all there. They make changes around it. There's changes, the costume is slightly different, the symbol might be different, the way he encounters his first villains is going to be different, but they kept it the same. That's why characters like Batman and Spider-Man have been able to stay consistent with a lot of people, because in each Batman adaptation is very different from one another. Robert Pattinson Batman, compared to other Batman, his relationship with Alfred is not the loving relationship we see in the other adaptations. But we don't know what stays the same. His Batman does the detective work. He doesn't want to kill.
No, that's not necessarily. I think I know what you're saying. I'm just.
There's elements of the character you have to keep for every single adaptation, but you make slight changes, which is fine.
Basically, those core kind of iconography and the core qualities of the character have not been radically changed. And I'll go as far as to say not even Zack Snyder necessarily radically changed it as much as he radically changed Superman. Superman has gone through so many different permutations of people who approach the character thinking the character doesn't work.
It's facts! It's facts! It's in our facts. These sites is in our facts. It's in our facts.
Agree.
That's the problem. With Batman, the reason I say like Zack Snyder, like he's the worst in terms of like taking it in a really, really weird direction. But I still think it was recognizable, whereas his Superman was unrecognizable.
No one stays good in this world.
Right? And that came because there was a person who approaches the material of Superman thinking, I need to fix Superman.
Right.
This is one of the first ones where I'm like, since Donna, where it wasn't like, it didn't feel like this was a I need to fix Superman situation. It was the same with Smallville, right? Like it was kind of like, oh, we're gonna do a thing where we're not gonna make
younger Clark and stuff,
and like all of this kind of stuff.
But see that's why I say for me, this show so far it's not done yet, but I'm loving it. Superman the animated series, Superman and Lois, the Superman 78 movies and stuff. Like I feel, and this is what I feel, the people making that stuff genuinely go into it loving the character, right? And these studios need to stop hiring and getting people that don't care about the material or truly love it or even research it.
It's even worse than that, because a lot of these characters that are adapted, people don't, like the directors haven't read the comics before and stuff like that. But the problem with Superman, right, is that he's had this stigma for so long, and it's not because the character, has some kind of inherent problems. It's because we haven't seen a true modern adaptation, really, in movies, not necessarily like in cartoons and stuff like that. There's been great stuff, like especially those animated movies. I like the animated movies much more than I like him in the Timverse or whatever. But as far as movies are concerned, there hasn't been a proper adaptation since the 70s. Every adaptation that has come, that they've tried to do with it, they've either stuck way too much to the 70s or tried to wildly diverge from that. And so in the popular imagination, as you've said, like in how people perceive the character, I think they just perceive him wrong. And this cartoon, I hope that James Gunn is paying attention. This is how you do a modern Superman, and it doesn't mean that he has to be like.
Real quick, just a thing, because this thing about this show. So this show, the person Jack Quaid who plays Huey in The Boys, he's voicing Superman. His inspiration for how this Superman is done is from All-Star Superman, and Superman Legacy is literally going to be based around All-Star Superman, which I think is a good story to base your Clark Kent around. So this show right here, I think is going to be able to do way more than what Superman Legacy will give us, but at least they're pulling from material that I think represents Clark Kent in the best light.
Because and this is the thing that's important, and I want to talk also about like his power scaling here, because I love the power scaling, that he's not just completely unbeatable. They've made him still be able to be Superman, right? But like it's not like you can't hurt him, or you can't, like some of the things that people always say, oh, you can't do Superman because he's unbeatable. Absolutely false. His power scaling is not the essence of the character. Right? Power scaling is up to you, right? Like, obviously, you can't make him like Spider-Man level or something like that. But just how powerful you make him in terms of can he be hurt, that is on you. You can't use the comics or anything else as an excuse, because there's been so much variety of power scaling in the comics for the character. So that's up to you, right?
And then I totally agree with that, because in Superman the animated series, right, and even Justice League, Superman was not OP, right? There was times where you even noticed through the writing, like, dang, they're really downplaying Superman, but they just scaled back his strength, and also we know he holds back greatly, but the writers are scaling him down a bit, because in Superman 78, right, Superman can go around the planet and turn it and make it rewind time. That's OP. But compared to Superman animated series, he's not that OP to do something that crazy, because they scaled him back a bit. But like you say, it just depends on the people's approach to it, because the power is not the issue, right? It's how you approach it. And you can scale him back, but like you said, don't make him Spider-Man level, because then you take away everything about Superman at that point if you make him Spider-Man level strength.
No, of course not. I don't mean it like that. But what I mean is that there's creative ways to kind of get around that.
Yeah.
And I think people try and use that as an excuse.
To downplay the character.
All about the powers. And for me, the most important character in the Superman mythos, apart from like the villains and stuff like that, is Clark Kent. If you don't have a connection to Clark Kent, you don't have anything.
Yeah.
You're
not gonna care about Superman.
Because Superman is just, he is, an alien who's super powerful, and I'm not saying he's unrelatable. I'm saying Clark Kent makes him relatable. That's the whole thing. Clark Kent struggle to, attract Lois Lane, or Clark Kent's, kind of buffoonish, kind of, mannerisms. The fact he's a little bit, he's a little bit uncool. And people feel that sometimes, like, oh, I'm not like hip, I'm not with it, I'm not the coolest person.
That's why that's
yeah,
well, in Nerman, that's why I'm not sure if you remember the episode, but in like Superman Lois season 3, right? There's an episode where Clark wants to take the boys to go to a wrestling match, right? He dashes into the room and he's like, "Hey, I got tickets to go wrestling. Let's go." And that with that show, I think I like Clark Kent more than the Superman in the show. He's not a bad Superman, but I love Clark Kent in that show. He has all Tyler embodies like all the mannerisms that you would.
I like him a lot, but I really wish he got to play the earlier Superman. The Superman before he's got to get together with Lois, because I think he'd be really good at that. Like the episodes I've seen where he goes back and he's playing that Clark Kent before he's, confident with Lois and all of that kind of stuff. I actually really love that stuff. But yeah, he hasn't had the chance to play that. I've never really liked the family man Superman. It's just like, it's an area of Superman that just doesn't interest me. I'm much more interested in when he gets here or when he ends. Super young. I don't like the middle parts necessarily.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, right? Because even though Superman and Lois, and even this show, this is the thing. Two different, like, this is Superman, if his early days in the Bugle, he's an intern just coming up and starting up. And in Superman and Lois, he's a family man. But the one thing I say is consistent is Clark Kent as a character. And I think that's what you need to do over and over again to really keep the character alive. To keep the character alive, like, just keep their character consistent. I would even say with all the Spider-Man we got, even the live action Spider-Man, I don't like Tom Holland as much. But at least the characteristics are there that you need. Andrew Garfield's slightly different, but the characteristics of being Peter Parker is still there. It's not completely gone. It's slightly changed, but it's still there.
I think the essence of Spider-Man is in all of those Spider-Man. The problem I have with Tom Holland is not that it's not Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's just, I think he's the weakest version of Spider-Man. And
that's facts. He is.
Including the Spider-Verse.
Garbage, including Andrew Hammond or whatever his name is.
Whoa, don't hate on Andrew Garfield. Relax, Cole.
No, I said Ham. What's his name? Andrew
Hammond?
Yeah.
Who's that?
What have these guys got to say?
Well, you don't know. Oh my god.
Let me ask you guys, how do you feel about
Nicholas Hammond?
How do you feel about the Jimmy and Lois? Like, they literally have this trio dynamic of them being these young up and coming reporters in the field going out here. And I think what I like most about this episode is that they have these like little kid reporters that are like that look up to them and want to be reporters someday. And they're also their word on the street to get them information and stuff. Like, I really like this potential dynamic they're going to have as a trio, because I think this is the only time we really seen this for these characters.
Yeah, it's cool. I like it. I mean, I liked it. I for a minute I got a little bit happy because I thought it was Darla Dudley. Like I was like, oh no, they're not gonna do it. Like, I thought she was just like in town or something like that. And there was just gonna be a little thing, like a little, not like she's gonna turn into, her super self.
Well, I think when because they said there is gonna be a season 2, I think that's when we are gonna see more characters, because Slade Wilson is here. He's a Titans villain, so it's not to say Batman's gonna show up. But I think we might see some other heroes and other characters from the DC world show up in this show that aren't Superman specific. But I don't think they're going to do that until season 2. I think for season 1, it kind of focused.
The ones I want to see really are Wonder Woman. Would love a little bit of Shazam turning up in there, but and
I think I want to see Wonder Woman and Flash the most. Wonder Woman and Flash the most. I think I want to see them.
Yeah. But I just think the show was it was like, as a Superman fan, I just thought it was absolutely like damn near perfect. Like the first episode, I don't know how the second episode went, but this is the best Superman since, to me, I think it's better than Superman and Lois. It's the best Superman I've seen since Christopher Reeves. Period.
Oh, no, yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing. Yeah,
sorry. To be fair, I always forget these. The animated movies are excellent. The animated movies are excellent. So I do forget those.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, so far,
and all that kind of stuff are great.
I think for me so far, as far as my Superman adaptations, outside of comics and stuff, it's probably Reeves, animated series Superman from the 90s, Tyler Hoechlin Superman, and potentially is going to be this Clark. And I liked his approach to this because he, usually we've seen in other adaptations, Lois usually can be a pushover on him, right? And she kind of will downplay Clark, but here he stood his ground and didn't let Lois downplay him. He wasn't an asshole about it. He was very kind with his approach, but he still stood up to her. He didn't let Lois completely downplay him.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm.
What I like about this as well, because I think she's gonna fall for Superman, right?
Yeah.
So, but she kind of likes him, Clark Kent, before, but she's gonna forget about Clark.
Yeah, I like that too. I like that. Like, she's not in love with Superman. She this not to say she's in love with Clark now, but she's not interested in Superman first and then Clark. She's interested in Clark first, which is, it's a very nice approach to see, instead of this girl falls in love with the macho hero, and the geeky guy doesn't get a shot until after she finds out he's this macho hero. So
yeah, I never liked that about the whole mythos of Superman. Like, that always was weird. It was like, no, she should fall in love with Clark and then realize he's Superman. So this is good, but they need to keep this up. They need to do some more shows like this. I want to see the Wonder Woman show now. I want to see the this is how you get through to a next generation.
Yep.
All being well, that like some, the superhero trend doesn't like fizzle out, which I feel it's probably going to before this actually has the kind of impact that it needs to, but like they need to set up generations loving these characters. I'm telling you, that's why Spider-Man is like as popular as he is now, apart from the boost the MCU gave him.
We need to make him a serial killer.
But I'd say even more Spider-Man's live action movies is, yes, he has TV shows, but if we didn't see the Raimi trilogy come out or Andrew's films come out as close as they did, let's say Tom Holland Spider-Man is the first adaptation we finally seen, that momentum is not really going to be there because you barely have any TV shows that really push him. Yes, people are going to turn up for it and come check it out. But the reason that hype for Spider-Man when he showed up in Civil War was because you set him up in the Raimi movies. You set him up with Andrew and stuff. He had a TV show in the 90s, a TV show in the early 2000s. Like, you got to keep making content about these characters that's going to keep people, in the know with them. Because the last good Wonder Woman adaptation to animation we had was that 2009 movie. That was like her solo project. That Wonder Woman 2009 film was the last time we had something really good that was a solo project of Wonder Woman in animation. Now her last solo project that really gained a lot of attention with people was Wonder Woman 1 in 2017. But since then, I mean, what has there really been?
Was there
Not
no
much.
animated film that was solo?
She had that Wonder Woman Bloodlines movie, but that animation was shit. But let's go ahead and close this up. What would you guys grade this episode? Final thoughts on it? Me, 10 out of 10. Perfect episode. Perfect start. Perfect setup. Episode 2, we're not going to talk about it because Nerdman and Cole haven't seen it. But I thought episode 2 was just as great.
Well. He didn't even get the suit in the first episode. That was great. Great stuff. Makes sense. It means he's choosing to become Superman rather than something being thrust on him where he has to become Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not like some Destiny stuff, because I think that's what I kind of disliked about the previous Superman adaptations, especially Man of Steel and even 78 to an extent, is that Superman going to Earth doesn't feel like, oh, his parents are they just want him to go to a better place and be safe. But they're sending him somewhere to like be a beacon of hope to some people, to like a totally different civilization of people, which kind of random because it's like, okay, your plan's about to blow up. I think your priority is just getting your child somewhere to be safe, not sending them to be a beacon of hope to some random people that he doesn't know. That should be the choice of Clark, not something that's thrust upon him, because that's kind of random. Like, if we was in the situation, I'm not sending my son to another planet so he can be a beacon of hope. I'm sending him so he can hopefully be safe and live a good life. Like, I don't care if he's a beacon of hope. I just want him to live life.
Sure. I mean, what I like about the 78 version is that it gets the bones of Superman right. Like, it just gets the basic bones of the character right. I always expected it to be improved upon. I never thought it was going to be like all these years later and we still haven't seen a Superman movie. It's going to, because to be quite fair, I like that movie a lot, but it ain't that good. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are major flaws to that movie, like the 78 and the.
I totally agree. I like Superman 2 better.
There's no reason why any aspect of those two movies couldn't have been improved upon by now, other than complete incompetency. The story's good. This story's good, and the animation you saw, like, it's pretty straightforward, I would think. To do it, like, all of the comics, all of the blueprint is there to make a much better Superman movie in the age of CGI, and they haven't done it. It's weird to me.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing. But it's just like I say, just approach Clark Kent as he is. If you want to tweak the suit a bit, that's fine. If you want to tweak who his first villain is going to be, that's fine. If you want to tweak, whether he's like a father or a Clark that's just a young up and coming reporter, that's fine. Just keep the character as they are.
What did you do?